Welcome back in to the Scramble Drill Dynasty podcast. I want to go as far as to say like your main source for Dynasty content, but I think we're a little more self-aware than that, aren't we, Landon?
We are. Yeah, this is probably 8th, 9th source. If you're listening to this, you've listened to probably 12 other podcasts this week. So,
yeah, no, you're catching us on the last go around before their next episodes start rolling in.
yeah.
But hey, if you listen to us, I appreciate it. We all appreciate it. We like to have fun on this podcast. We're not a big show, but it's more for us than anything else, I guess, where it's a therapy session. We get to talk about the same things we talk about in text messages, just in podcast format. Landon, how we doing?
You know, Ben, I'm good. What was I doing this weekend? I know you didn't ask, but what was I doing this weekend? Oh, just hanging out with Bijan Robinson.
I do know what you were doing this weekend.
That's all I was doing.
I do know what you were doing.
I was just hanging out with Bijan Robinson. Just not to name drop this early in the podcast, but we happened to be in the same place this weekend. Maybe I can get him on the show. Who knows?
That would be cool.
Just to be clear,
if you can get Bijan, I'll get DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, just to be clear, I was not hanging out with Bijan. I was in the same place as him, though. We were at the Atlanta Braves game. I was watching the Braves on Sunday, and he was there. Did I want to go mention to him that he's our guy? Yes. Couldn't get over there. Security was pretty tight, so.
I think he knows he's a lot of people's guy.
Yeah, he knows. He knows. We don't need to tell him.
He knows exactly whose guy he is.
We don't need to tell him.
It was a good weekend of Braves baseball. I enjoyed seeing Ronald Acuna back in action. First pitched, 467. How you doing? But we're here to talk about football, not baseball.
Yes, we are.
I know not to open that can of worms with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So in today's episode, we have got receivers. We talked about running backs. We did our top 30 running backs, I believe. It got kind of murky at the end. We stopped caring because there's not that many good names. But the running back position is much better. That is not to say the receiver position is not also insane. No real news to dive into this episode. There's, some of the camp OTA puff pieces are starting to come out. So-and-so's holding out. So-and-so's in the best shape of their life. That kind of stuff. We're not going to go into that just yet. We're going to let some actual news happen, and then we'll talk about it. So while we're waiting on that.
Hold on. I saw
ahead.
The saddest report about Jermaine Burton. I can't remember exactly the phrasing.
What?
I saw it was so sad. I can't remember exactly the phrasing. At this time, people are usually glowing in their praise for players, right? I saw an article that was like, oh, look at what the coach said about Jermaine Burton. And it was something like, he looks pretty good. Like, that's all it was. That's all it said. Like, he looks pretty good. And it was like, oh, no. If you're a Jermaine Burton
It's usually
guy,
like when
I'm sorry.
Even if it's like I'm trying to think of guys like Craig Reynolds, like the third string running back for the Lions, like Dan Campbell will talk incredible about Craig Reynolds, like, oh, he's a top 3 back in the league.
He's
like,
the
oh,
next
he
Adrian
doesn't start for
Peterson.
you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But the quote, it was something.
No,
it wasn't pretty good, but it was something along those lines. It was very mundane. It was like, okay, you can drop him, guys. You can drop him.
He's on the team. He's on the team.
Yeah, he's here. I saw him.
Yeah, I think I saw him last week in a meeting.
Anyways.
All right, let's talk about some actual receivers who deserve their praise and respect. Yep. We're going to do the same kind of thing we did last cycle with running backs. We got our top 15 receivers broken up into tiers, and then obviously next week or next episode, we're going to finish the back half and catch the other 30 or other 15. So let's talk about the superstars today. We kind of let it slide. We didn't open. Once again, Josh has canceled last minute.
I mean,
shocking
it's unbelievable.
No one.
It's unbelievable.
You gotta be kidding me.
I say it's unbelievable, but it's totally believable. I knew this was going to happen.
It's actually likely at this point.
It's likely.
He texted us. I think, was it him who opened the text message chat about this? He's like, hey, are we good for Tuesday doing top 15 receivers or something? And we were both like, yeah, that works. And then you texted us about a couple hours ago like, hey, my Zoom meeting ends this time. We're all good for that. And then, of course, the next notification I see, oh, shoot, I meant to text you guys. It's Tuesday, isn't it? Yes, Josh, it's Tuesday. Yeah, I'm not going to make it.
I don't know why we expect different.
Yeah, no, let's put it this way. He's going to have to put up his big boy pants real soon because you've got some camp stuff starting, so we're gonna lose some time with you coming up soon. Josh, you're going to have to fill in. I need you to be better.
We're going to bring in the righty. He's got to be ready.
Yeah.
He's got to be ready.
I'm going to have to bring in a fourth string guy. I'm going to have to bring in a fourth. I don't know who yet. I've got some, some feelers out there, some backups I can bring in if I need to, but I don't want to be starting Craig Reynolds on this show.
Yeah.
I need one of you guys here with me.
Yeah, we don't.
All right. That being said, this is mine and Landon's composite rankings, not Josh's. And believe it or not, yours and my rankings just about stride for stride the entire way.
Yeah, we had the same top 14, and the guy I had at 16, you had at 15. The guy you had at 15, I had at 16. So we essentially had the same top 16, and we have basically the same tiers. We had the same tiers, not basically the same tiers. We had the same tiers.
We had
the
same tiers.
So
like one or two names were switched in the first three tiers, but they were the same.
So if you're looking for the first take style yelling match, you're probably not getting it today. But hopefully we can talk through
I will
these
say that
and-
is what
and give
Josh
some good
brings to
information.
our episodes.
That's true.
That is what Josh brings is he usually is the one, and it's not necessarily always a bad thing, but he's got the little bit more out there take, and he'll plant his flag on the weird player, and then the guy you're like, why don't you like this guy kind of stuff. So he does bring some fire in that regard to us.
Yep.
We're kind of just mundane. You like this guy? Yep, love him. Where do you have him? 7? Yep, that's where I've got him.
Yep. So.
All right. So into the mundane, tier 1. I don't think there's too much to discuss here. Jamar Chase and Puka Nacua. I'm just kidding. It's Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, we were talking. We were like, what do we say about these guys? Basically, here's what I'll say. If you don't have them, you're probably not getting them. That's what you say. You can pay up to get them. But we talked about it. They both
It's
go.
doable.
They both go in the mid first round in startups. Jamar Chase is even going in the high first round in startups, as high as the 102.
Yeah, I saw a real startup, a real world start. I wasn't in the draft, but I saw a real world startup in a 12-team Superflex league. He went at 102.
Yeah, so they're going that high. If you're going to pay up, we don't love tier ups. It's good in some cases, and it's good in some formats. It's really good in shallower formats. But if I'm going to tier up, I just feel better about getting a quarterback. I just do. Even though it's Jamar Chase and I love him. I took him in a startup last year, the Listener League startup we did. I felt great about that. But if I'm going to pay up that much, I just feel better about getting a Jaden Daniels or a Lamar or even a Burrow. Like, it just scares me a little bit to tier up that far to get a receiver, because you're having to pay probably another top 10 guy we're going to talk about today, plus a legit low-end RB1, and then a second-round pick or more on top to get something like this. So I just feel if I'm going to move that package, I want a quarterback. So basically what I'm saying is if you don't have these guys, one of these guys, you're probably not going to get them.
Move on.
Try
to find the next one. Don't try to get one of those.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. There are potentially a couple of names that you could argue into the tier with Jamar and JJ. You and I both agree they're not there. I think those two have separated themselves into elite class. So we'll drop down a tier here. And we've got 4 names in here. You and I had 3 and 4 switched. But also, like I said, it's a tier-based ranking. Not that big a deal, whichever one you prefer.
Yep.
The 3 and 4 are the 2 guys that I think you could potentially, there are arguments to be made to put them in the tier with Jamar and JJ. And it's Malik Neighbors and CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
CeeDee, up until last year, was in those tiers with Jamar Chase. In fact, a lot of people were putting him ahead of Jamar Chase. I was never there. You were never there.
We were not. We were saying, guys, what are we doing?
No.
We were the whole time. We were like, Jamar
this
Chase
is too much.
Yeah. But no, CD, seriously. And this could be just a little bit of, Dak gets hurt. Cowboys struggle. We forget about him. George Pickens does not scare me at all. I mean, like, none. Like, 0%. CD, again, could he come out and be the wide receiver 1 this year? He could. He could. And he's young, and he's got all of it.
He's got a contract.
I just have him down. It's not really about him. It's more just a respect of JJ and Chase to me. I just so much respect what they've accomplished at their ages. And we've seen them at their best, and it's just, I mean, it's crazy the numbers they put up. And I know CD did a couple years ago, but CD was not as good as them to start with. He's had 1 year at that level, whereas every time those guys are on the field, it really doesn't matter who their quarterback is. They're at that level. So that's why I have the tier break, but, I mean, CD's awesome. CD's amazing.
He did struggle a little bit this year, but I agree. It's kind of like you said. I mean, we saw to a lesser extent this happened with Jamar Chase last year. Now, Chase got banged up too, so he missed time. But obviously, Burrow missed a lot of time too, which affected his play. So, believe it or not, I think in PPR, Chase and CD, if you combine their last 2 seasons together, they've put up almost identical numbers. When CD has his wide receiver 1 season, it was a few points behind what Chase did. And when Chase put up similar numbers a couple years ago when he and Burrow were injured to what CD did this year. Now, I think Chase missed more time than CD, so to me that shows he put up better numbers when he's on the field. But still, we're kind of splitting hairs. CD Lamb is incredible. I had CD at 3. I had Malik Neighbors at 4. You had Malik Neighbors at 3. And again, I don't necessarily disagree with you there because I don't know if you watched any football this last season, but Malik Neighbors put up one of the best seasons of all time for a rookie.
I think if there's one guy that is not named Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase in the league that could be the wide receiver 1 at the end of this year, it's Malik Neighbors. I think he's the only guy that could be the wide receiver. I don't, honestly, even if CD does what he did 2 years ago, I don't think he's going to be the consensus wide receiver 1. But Neighbors, if he gets better than he was last year and they have competent quarterback play, because that's the thing. Neighbors did what he did last year, and they were abysmal at quarterback. I mean, like the worst quarterback situation in the NFL.
Yeah.
And he did what he did. If, let's say, Russell Wilson performs as the 19th best quarterback this year in the league, or let's say he starts the whole year, whatever, and he's the 19th best quarterback, Malik Neighbors is going to be way better. Like, I'm just looking at the upside. Not saying CD doesn't have upside, but I'm just looking at the upside of Neighbors, and it's just, I think he's got potential to be the wide receiver 1, and I believe I've seen him going as the wide receiver 2. Like, not often, but I've seen it a few times.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be a team when you're doing a startup, I don't necessarily agree with it, but if you want to just purely, I'm going into this startup planning, I am banking on the future, regardless of, it doesn't matter who falls to me, I'm going to take the future asset over the competing asset. Yeah, I guess you could take Neighbors above JJ. And I mean, I think you can take Neighbors and compete. So it really that doesn't matter to me either. That's one of the things that puts the guys like Neighbors in this category. Like that's a competing asset. He's 22 years old. And I don't have the number in front of me, but I think I was reading the other day, I believe he had was it a 34% target share?
It was crazy. Yeah, it was something like that.
30,
and they brought in
34%. Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase at their best, are like 30 to 31. And that's insane numbers from them. He was at 34.
And they didn't bring in anyone. They didn't bring anyone
in.
What do you want me to say?
Just ridiculous numbers from Malik Neighbors. And yeah, I mean, we're probably spending too much time here looking at little things. Yeah. Malik Neighbors and CD Lamb I have them in the same tier as 5 and 6 are Puka and Amon-Ra. Yeah. I can't make an argument in my head to put Puka and Amon-Ra ahead of them, though.
I can't either, but I think there should be – I think they are the top 6 receivers. So I think there's definitely a tier break after those guys. And we're kind of becoming in the minority on Amon-Ra. I've seen him going as low as like wide receiver 8.
Yeah, it has been –
wide receiver 9.
It has been shocking me this offseason when I see people rank receivers, and the top 4 are pretty set in stone. I don't see anybody. I see people, putting Neighbors in the same tier with JJ and Jamar, and some people put CD in there too. Like I see that happen, and it doesn't bother me. And then when I see wide receiver 5 pop up, and it's not Amon-Ra St. Brown, I start questioning things.
He's going low, and I guess it's Ben Johnson, right? I mean, that's the only thing that's really changed. They didn't bring in anybody that's going to affect his role at all. Jared Goff's the same, right? It's got to be the Ben Johnson angle. I'm just not that worried about it.
It's going to be the same. It's not going to be the play caller, obviously, but like the system, I would imagine, is going to remain relatively intact.
The system's going to be the same.
So Amon-Ra's role is not going anywhere.
No.
They've got all the money invested into him. Everybody knows he's the best on the team.
And they love him.
I don't see any of that changing. Yeah.
They love him. No, I still have him here. And then Puka at 6, like, Puka's a guy that people still have in their heads 5th round. And some people take that and say, I don't care at all, and they'll move him even higher than this. And some people are still a little afraid to put him this high. They'll still have him like as a top 10 receiver, but they're still afraid to put him this high. This is where he belongs. He's young. He gets 1 million targets, and he's efficient with them. Yards after the catch, he's a monster. Is there a little injury concern? Yeah, I guess, but everybody has a little injury concern. That means nothing to me. The one thing you could bring up is the Stafford thing. How much longer is he going to play? But Puka's shown me enough to where he's that guy. I'm fine having him here, and this is how you should value him if he's on your roster.
Yeah. The Stafford is a concern. I will cede that a little bit as well. But at the same time, I'm looking at the Rams situation. Sean McVay's not going anywhere, so that's going to stay regardless. I know Puka's going to get a contract. I know he's going to get a long-term extension there. It's going to be a big one. He's going to be one of the highest paid in the league. And he's probably going to be the only guy on there right now that's going to get a contract extension. Like, once Stafford leaves, I don't see him paying Kyron. They're not going to bring back Devontae Adams and things like that. So it's going to be the Puka show for probably the next 5 years in LA for sure. It's going to be the Puka Nacua show.
Wait, but Ben, he said he wants to retire at 30. So shouldn't we have him as like RB 35?
Yeah, and we play Dynasty in 3-year windows. I just said he's going to be the Puka Nacua show for the next 5 years. So that just extended the 3-year window. But sure, him retiring in 7 years is a big deal.
Guys, your league's not going to be
around in
7
years.
Yeah, your league's not going to be around in 7 years. We might be watching AI football in 7 years, okay? So just...
Yeah, it's not going to matter.
Let's settle down.
Yeah. He is 23 years old.
Yeah.
All right. So that's tier 2. We got Malik Neighbors, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra, and Puka Nacua. Mm-hmm. We do have a tier break here. There is a name that is probably going to upset some people that he's not in here, and I guess I'm not going to fault you if you personally want to put him in this tier 2. You and I are of the same mind. We've got him a little bit lower. Dropping down to tier 3 at 7 is Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah.
This one's going to kind of upset some people. Yeah. And I don't feel like it's even a slight. It's just, I don't know. I want to see it again with Travis Hunter there before I put it. Now, you kind of mentioned this before the show. He's out of a similar Malik Neighbors situation to where if by week 5 this coming season, he's wide receiver 3, throw this out the window and shoot him up there.
Yeah, he is a guy I saw basically all I needed to see last year. He's that talented, but I didn't see definitively all I needed to see. I just need to see it a little bit more. Again, if he just is what he was last year, he should probably be in the tier above this. If he gets better, I mean, we can have different conversations. But at the end of the day, he was awesome, but he was a rookie. They did trade up to take a strange player at the second pick overall. At the end of the day, the dude's going to play a lot of receiver. Like, if any of these guys ahead of them, if the Giants would have traded up from 3 to 2 to take a guy who's going to play a lot of receiver, I would have to move Neighbors down some. Like, I can't,
Like, CD would definitely be ahead of him at that point.
Right. But if the Cowboys would have traded up to 2 to take a receiver or a guy who's going to play a lot of receiver, it's something to think about. It's something to think about. So we are not out on BTJ by any means. We are not saying drop him out of the top 12 by any means. We are.
Got him at wide receiver 7, guys.
We're very
consensus
high on him.
wide receiver 7.
Yes, we are very, very high on him, and I think he is, no doubt about it, the one in that offense. I don't care how good Travis Hunter is. He's the one. He showed last year he can be a guy who can demand a lot of targets and is going to score touchdowns, and that is the most valuable thing in fantasy football is for a wide receiver. If you command targets and score touchdowns, you're elite. He is elite.
Jamar Chase.
Yeah, he is elite, but now again, he's a guy I could see jumping up definitely. But I think to be safe, we'll keep him here at 7 because just like everyone other than Neighbors on this list ahead of him, we've seen do it for multiple years. And he wasn't quite as good as Neighbors, so I think this is a good place for him.
I think he actually finished higher than Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
But Malik Neighbors was just volume. Like, I'm as good as BTJ is, I've got to take the receiver that's going to get 170 targets, and it doesn't matter how many touchdowns he scores versus, BTJ didn't have quite as much target volume. So that's probably the main difference there. Yeah. All right, 8 and 9. You and I both flip-flop these guys. You had Nico Collins at 8 and Drake London at 9. I had Drake London as 8 and Nico Collins at 9. So, again, pick your poison. I personally am just incredibly high on Drake London. Like, I think at the end of the season, he and Michael Penix were kind of showing definitely a connection. They were linking up, I think, like the last game or something they played together. Granted, it was a push against the playoffs against the Panthers, so keep that in mind. But still, he had like 18 targets or something. So I think this is the breakout year for Drake London, which is why I've got him here this high.
Yeah, Drake London is. I mean, we're both really high on him. We love him. I have London in a couple spots actually, and feel great about it. Like I
have no shares of Drake London, and it makes me very sad.
Yeah, that's sad. Yeah,
I hate that.
I've got him in a couple spots, and I've had offers for him this year. Like people want Drake London on their teams, and I'm holding firm. We'll see what this year brings with Penix coming in. In the weeks, Kirk was good last year. London was good, and then something happened to Kirk Cousins' arm. No idea what happened midway through the season, but I'm super excited about London. And Nico's kind of similar. Like, London had a better prospect profile coming out, obviously. But once you get 3 years, 4 years away from their draft, the NFL production is way more important than their draft prospect by this point. And Nico has shown the ability to be he's a game wrecker. Like, he can score the 80-yard touchdown. And he commands a lot of volume. He's the clear number one in his offense as well. So I don't have a strong conviction either way on these guys, but I do have a strong conviction that these are the top 9 guys. Like, I think this is the hardest cutoff we've seen so far tier-wise. Like, I don't think there's anybody under these guys who you could argue above them of the 9 we just mentioned.
Yeah. I think there are guys behind them that definitely have the potential to break through and get into these tiers.
Yes.
But as it sits right now, there is a definite tier break of I cannot make a legitimate argument for anyone below them to get in here.
Yeah. No, these guys, everybody we've mentioned, they're definitive number ones. They're target monsters. Most of them, I'm looking, basically all of them are really good after the catch. They all score touchdowns. They're all, under 26 years old. Like, Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with any of these guys. If you don't have one of these guys, I'm doing whatever I can basically to get one of them. Like in a 12-team Superflex with deep rosters, having one of these guys changes everything. If you can get 2 of these guys, you're set. But having one of these guys, having an elite talent like this to anchor your wide receiver position, it can't be overstated how big of a deal that is.
Yeah, I mean, I almost think having one of these guys is almost a necessity to compete in a deeper league. I mean, in a shallow league, obviously, but in a deeper league, like just having that one game record that, I guess it's the guy that can do both. I know I can count on him. If I need 15 points, this guy's got me. And their game records at the same time. Their floor is 15 points and their ceiling is 40.
Yeah, like any of these guys can go for 120 and 2 touchdowns any given Sunday. Any given Sunday they can do that. So I told you before the podcast.
I agree. I agree with you. I like trading up and getting one of those guys too.
Yeah, I told you this before the podcast. I was going to ask you a question here. So, let's say we kept these as wide receiver rankings, but let's say you're in a tight end premium league and we threw Brock Bowers into this mix. How high does he go?
Ooh.
Where does he rank amongst these guys? I know I'm catching you off guard here, but I just want to get
in
your
a
feel.
tight end premium.
Tight end premium. You get. It's a PPR league, and tight ends get 2 points per reception. How high would he go for you?
I would say he's got to be in the tier. I would put him in tier 2.
Yeah.
I think he jumps BTJ, London, and Nico. I have him with Neighbors, CD, Amon-Ra, and Puka. I would also like to say I would do the same thing with Trey McBride.
Okay.
I would put him right
That's
there,
interesting.
too.
So I would put Bowers probably in between CD and Amon-Ra for me. I'd probably put him at like the 5th best asset among these guys. I would have McBride closer into the Nico London territory, I think. But I just wanted to ask that
in
to
that
see.
format, I wouldn't be shocked if McBride outscores Bowers. And I know we're not talking about tight ends this episode, but that's just my thoughts in my head, I guess.
Yeah, I think I would have Bowers in that first tier and McBride in that third. But that's just an interesting. I just wanted to kind of give an example of how we value tight ends relative to receivers. Just those two, though. There's no one else in this conversation, obviously. But
no,
just wanted to throw that at you, see what you thought.
I know I like that because it's hard. I can't view those two guys as tight ends, in my opinion. They're receivers.
Yeah.
They're receiver
those guys are. Whew. If you got one of them in a tight end premium league, my gosh.
You can't trade. They're another one. You can't trade for them.
Yeah,
ever.
I would. If I had Brock Bowers and someone offered me Amon-Ra, I would turn it down. I would absolutely turn it down.
Yeah.
Now, CD or Neighbors, we can have a conversation, but I'd turn it down. Those guys should be going in the early second, if not, or Bowers should be going in the early second, if not like the tail end of the first. That's where he should be valued.
Yeah, like
in tight end premium.
I wouldn't be upset in a tight end premium league if somebody takes Bowers at 111.
Yeah, no.
110 even.
That's where he should be going. When Kyle Pitts had 1,000 yards after his rookie year, he was going around there. Bowers had a better rookie year than him, and he was the same prospect level. And he's just better. So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where he should be going. Just for the people at home, in startups.
Scores touchdowns.
Startups, tail end of the first round, if you're in a tight end premium, Brock Bowers is not a bad pick.
No.
Like, if you're sitting there looking at him or Caleb, I'd take Bowers. Like, if you're looking at him or C.J. Stroud, I'd take Bowers.
Because I don't see Bowers losing value. Like, definitely C.J. Stroud. We're known antagonists of C.J. Stroud on this podcast. We don't mind him as a person. Don't mind him as a player. I don't like him at QB7.
Yeah.
I definitely do not like him there.
But I just wanted to get that out there.
Yeah. No, I appreciate and I like viewing Bowers in those league formats as a receiver too.
Yes.
Because that's where I think he should be valued, that kind of stuff. All right. BTJ, London, and Nico. That is tier 3, 7, 8, and 9. We do have, like I said, a hard cutoff here, dropping down to the rest to 10 through 15. Not that we don't like 10 through 15, not that we don't think they're all awesome, and several of them I could see breaking into these upper tiers, but they have much more to prove than the top 9 guys do before they get into this area. So starting off at number 10, this was also where yours and mine list kind of varied a little bit, so this is why we've got it's kind of or this is the composite kicking in. Marvin Harrison Jr. is at 10 for us. He's the guy you and I probably both agree that could easily jump into the next tiers this coming season.
Look, Marv is he's still the elite of the elite, cream of the crop receiver prospect profile that we've ever seen. It's him and Jamar Chase. And then, like, you're going back to Calvin Johnson, and at that level of prospect profile. So if he comes out and performs similar to how BTJ or Neighbors did last year, you're going to have a hard time putting Drake London ahead of him. If he performs like we hope he will be in tier 2. He just will be. And it won't take him long to get there either.
Yeah. No. I mean, I remember discussing this last offseason heading into this rookie year, and obviously everybody missed a little bit on Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, there were people putting him at wide receiver 2, some even like wide receiver 1 right out of the gate just because of what kind of a prospect he was. And I remember towards the end, like at the beginning, Josh and I were talking about some redraft rankings and things like that. And we were kind of pumping the brakes just a little bit on Marvin Harrison Jr. We're like, we don't think this happens, but what's the worst case scenario we think works and happens with him? Is like, probably like 900 yards and like 7 touchdowns. Well, guess what? Yep. Worst case scenario happened for Marvin Harrison Jr. He's still wide receiver 10. The sky is not falling. And I just think he will kind of remind the world of what he was coming into this year.
Yeah, he's not a guy I'm looking to trade. He is just not a guy I'm looking to trade right now. I mean, obviously, if you can get like an Amon-Ra or a Puka or something offer, but I'm not looking to trade him at these prices just because I still think he could go up rankings. And guys, they didn't bring anyone in. Like,
no.
They did not feel like this is a player they needed to replace or bring someone in to compete for the wide receiver 1. They're not worried. So I'm not worried.
No. They paid Trey McBride, so obviously he's going to be there for the long haul. But
right.
I think it's another situation where both of those guys should be able to thrive, I think.
Absolutely, both those guys can thrive. Absolutely.
Yeah. If I had both of them on the same team, I think you actually have a team where you have both. I'm not looking to trade one or the other. Like, I'm going to hang on to both of them.
Holding hard, both of them.
Yeah, easily. Yep. Okay, number 11, the sensation from Georgia, Ladd McConkey. I like Ladd McConkey. You were a little bit lower on him than I was. I mean, we still had him in the same tier, so it really doesn't matter. But Ladd, I don't know. They brought in help, but it didn't really affect him. The help they brought in Trey Harris, who's an outside receiver. And I like Trey Harris, but he's not going to touch Ladd McConkey's role. No other receiver they have on the roster will touch Ladd McConkey's role. They have Quentin Johnston, the ghost of Mike Williams, and Trey Harris. All of those are outside X receivers. So Ladd, once again, is going to eat short game and in the middle for the Chargers.
Yeah, and they really don't have a tight end that takes anything away from him either. So, no, Ladd is great. No. He's going to be a target monster, slot guy. It seemed like he was becoming towards the end of the year, safety blanket for Herbert. And you'll take that guy on your team. Any safety blanket for Herbert you'll take on your team. I'm not a Herbert guy anymore, but I'll take Ladd McConkey. We both love him. Like I said, I had him. I may have had him at like 13. So, this is all very similar tier. But, yeah, love Ladd. And he's not just he's not, no disrespect to any of these guys, but he's not Julian Edelman or Wes Welker. And those guys were great players. He's a better athlete than those guys. Like, I'm not saying
he ran
he's
like
going to
a
have
4.39 40.
Yeah, like we remember those guys. We remember those guys as like, oh, they were so great because they won, but they weren't necessarily like fantasy monsters. This guy is. This guy will be, and he's got wide receiver 1 upside every single year, and he's going into his second year. So you got to be excited about Ladd.
Yeah,
wide receiver.
I love him. I guess
I don't mean like the wide receiver.
A
one.
wide
I mean
receiver
like
one,
a wide
not
receiver
the
one.
wide.
Yeah.
No, the wide receiver 1, I think, is the top, and maybe that's where we should kind of clarify maybe the hard cutoff. Is any of those guys in the top 9, I could see a scenario where they finish as the wide receiver 1. One overall. I don't see any of these other guys finishing at wide receiver 1 overall.
No, it would have to be Marv, like reaching his potential type deal. That'd be the only thing.
Yeah. And I guess maybe in a perfect world, our number 12 finishes there. Maybe in a perfect world, A.J. Brown, who is our wide receiver 12 in Dynasty, could do it. I don't believe it would happen, but maybe.
He's too busy reading books on the sideline.
Yeah, he's too busy being dramatic at all times.
Yeah, but we have.
I think you said this. I don't think Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, and A.J. Brown all like each other.
No, they don't like each other. But you don't have to like each other.
But it works.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
It works.
You don't have to like each other. If you're winning Super Bowls and you're making deep playoff runs and everybody's getting enough stats to go around, it's fine. But
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, AJ, I just cannot understand people completely being out on receivers when they turn 27. I can't get there. We play in 3-year windows. I've said it before. A.J. Brown is going to age much better than a guy like a small, shifty speed guy. Because you know what's going to happen in 3 years? The small, shifty speed guy is going to still be small, and he's going to be less shifty and less fast. A.J. Brown in 3 years is going to be just as big and just as strong and just as hard to tackle. You don't believe me? Look at Derrick Henry. He's the receiver version of Derrick Henry. So I love A.J. Brown. We all know what he is after the catch, but he's got good ball skills too. He wins jump balls. He's a beast. I know he's a little older, but if you like winning your league, he's a guy you want on your team.
If you like winning, you might enjoy A.J. Brown.
I got interns here at the camp, and I just coached one of them into trading for A.J. Brown today. Got him to get a trade done today for A.J. Brown. So,
what was the trade?
It was he's
Better
in a 10-team
fleece.
Yeah, he's in a 10-team Superflex, and he traded Xavier Worthy, another receiver. I actually can't remember the other receiver. Xavier Worthy, another receiver, and a 27-second for A.J. Brown.
If the
Jaden Reed.
You can't remember it.
Jaden Reed.
Oh my God.
Xavier Worthy, Jaden Reed, and a 27-second for A.J. Brown. I was like, you got offered what?
There isn't a league format where I wouldn't take that.
No. And I gave him, I was like, okay, the guy's offering A.J. Brown for a little bit bigger package. I was like, okay, counter with this. Boom. Got it done. I was like, wow.
Unbelievable.
So
I want to be in these leagues. I'm assuming. Well, these are more casual leagues. This kind of stuff doesn't happen in leagues.
He's in a home league. Yeah, you're not going to get that done in your league, but he's in a home league.
This doesn't happen in my kind of leagues.
My point is, go buy A.J. Brown. Go buy A.J. Brown.
It was literally, and Josh and I, not to that extent, but Josh and I were a little bit last season saying to sell him. But the only reason we said to sell him is that his value isn't going to go up anymore. So if you want to cash out completely, sell him at max value. I am not saying to sell A.J. Brown low. If somebody lowballs you an offer, if you can't get any deal done where you're not getting max value for A.J. Brown, don't sell him. Just try to win your league.
If you remember last year, like week 3 or 4, we started coming out with these videos about players to buy if you are kind of a rebuild, but you don't have your first round pick. And A.J. Brown was my number one. Him and DJ Moore were like my 1 and 2. Because I was like, you don't need to tank, and people are valuing him like he's falling off. You're going to want him on your team next year. I hope you did that because he's still here in our top 15. Maybe he's lower in some other rankings. I don't know. But he's in our top 15, and he's going to be really good this year.
Yeah, and again, 3-year window. He is 27 years old. In 3 years, maybe in 3 years when he's 30, maybe we can have a conversation of I don't know if I want A.J. Brown anymore. But yes. I do like the quote. You said it today. You said it last year that stuck with me. A.J. Brown is never not going to be hard to tackle.
He's going to be hard to tackle.
He might slow down, but he's always going to be hard to tackle.
He's still going to be big and strong, and corners are going to fall at his feet. They just are.
I don't want to tackle him. I don't want to tackle anybody on this list, though.
Shoot, no.
All right, moving on. This is a guy, number 13. You and I both love this guy. We love this guy, Jackson Smith-Njigba. We told you to buy him. 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 Did you buy him? I hope you did.
I hope you did. What was my prediction before last year was he's a top 15 receiver and the receiver you want in Seattle. Well, that came out really well because
now the only receiver in Seattle.
And he's the only receiver in Seattle, unless there's some really big Cooper Kupp fans out there.
Do not talk to me about Cooper Kupp. I'm sorry. Do not do it.
Yeah,
I don't care about him hurting JSN's value. I'm not going to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
No. I actually had him a little higher. I actually had him above Ladd and A.J. Brown just because I'm such a big fan. I know you are too. I mean, he's a slot machine. He's a target machine. He showed the ability to have monster games last year. Where did he end up finishing? Wide receiver.
I think he was wide receiver 12 or 13. I think
he was higher than that.
I've got a lot of shares of JSN, so I can find him pretty quick.
You know, he was higher than that through like week 16
wide
or 17.
Receiver 9. Wide receiver 9 is where he finished.
I feel like he was even a little higher than that, like through week 16 or 17, where your fantasy championships were going on. So we love JSN, young, super talented.
He hurt a lot of people week 17 in that fantasy championship playoff where he had 6 targets, 3 catches. Like 6 points. That one left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth, and I get it for sure. But please let's not forget what he was doing last season.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about that. I guess if you're worried about Sam Darnold, I get that. I do. I understand that if you're thinking he's not going to be the same with Sam Darnold, but Darnold showed last year. I mean, there was a time at the end of the year where, not at the very end of the year because he was terrible at the very end, but let's say like week 13 to 16. I know that's only 4 weeks, but he had 3 fantasy relevant assets last year. I mean, like Addison, JJ, and Hawkinson at the very end were all fantasy relevant once Hawkinson was healthy. And even before that, in weeks where Addison and Justin Jefferson both played, there were many weeks they were both relevant. So I'm not super worried about Sam Darnold. I'm worried about them being really good, but I'm not worried about him being able to support JSN. I love him this high.
Yeah, no. I'm not going to compare because there isn't, but I'm not comparing JSN and Justin Jefferson. There is no comparison. But Justin Jefferson was the wide receiver 2 this past season. People were lowering JJ going into this year because they were like, oh, Sam Darnold's going to be terrible. Oh, no, JJ McCarthy got hurt.
Right.
Sam Darnold, if a player is really good, Sam Darnold's not going to affect him. And I think JSN is that kind of player. He's really good. I'm not worried. And they sold their other 2 players. They let Tyler Lockett walk. They traded DK Metcalf. They said, we're good. We've got Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Yeah. Love him. Love him.
So, love JSN. Your window to buy is over. Sorry. Enjoy. You missed out. 14. This guy probably should be a buy because people do not like him anymore. I still really like him. I know you still really like him too. Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
He had the best season of his career last year. in a horrible situation. He was actually extremely good. I believe he finished at wide receiver 11. And I'm not blaming the Devontae Adams debacle on Garrett Wilson. He was awesome beforehand. That was an Aaron Rodgers fiasco there. So, wide receiver 11, he's put up points with, I don't know, Zach Wilson at quarterback.
Yeah.
So, Justin Fields doesn't bother me for Garrett Wilson.
For me, it's a talent thing. He's one of the best prospects we've seen. He is one of the best wide receiver prospects we've seen in a long time. And all these guys are great prospects, but
with Malik Neighbors as far as prospect-wise. Like, that's the kind of player I would put him with.
He was crazy talented. He's still crazy talented. He's with his college quarterback. We don't love Justin Fields, but for what it's worth, like, it was his college quarterback. So who knows?
By the way, DJ Moore in Chicago was wide receiver 6 with Justin Fields.
People do forget that.
I think Garrett Wilson's better than DJ Moore.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Not a knock on DJ Moore. I think Garrett Wilson's better.
Yeah, no, people do forget that. I could see him having a monster season and us looking back thinking, man, I really wish I would have bought Garrett Wilson this offseason. Garrett Wilson, I'm very high on him. Very, very high on him. I had him above A.J. Brown and Ladd, actually. Actually, I had him above JSN. I have him at 11. So I was really high on him.
Yeah. I mean, I had him lower. I had him lower than that, but it's not I don't like Garrett Wilson thing because I'm with you. I think as a pure talent, you could argue him as a top 5 receiver in just raw physical talent and ability.
Yeah,
you could argue him in the top 5.
There's a lot of good ones, but he's in that conversation.
He's built perfectly. Like, he's 6 foot tall. He's about 185, 190. Runs like a 4.39. He's a great route runner. There's not a single route he can't run. He can win deep. He can win short. He's got great hands, great ball skills. I have nothing negative to say about Garrett Wilson except his situation, and I think his situation potentially got better with Aaron Glenn coming in.
Yeah. It's at least less weird. I'll say that. It's less weird than it was last year. But
yeah, no, that was one of the weirdest seasons I've ever seen for a football team was for the Jets.
Yeah. And he makes great contested catches, and in my mind, when I think great contested catches, I think like George Pickens, I think Terry McLaurin, I think those guys, and the thing about those guys is they make great contested catches, but they're not great at getting open. He's great at getting open. He can do both. And he's decent after the catch. I mean, he's not AJ Brown after the catch, but he's good after the catch.
No. Yeah, he is one of the guys where if you flipped, and obviously this is why we have him this low, but if you flipped him to a different situation, like if you put him in Nico Collins' situation, or if you put him in like Ladd McConkey's situation, he would be in tier 2. Yeah, easily. He would be pushing CeeDee Lamb and Malik Neighbors.
For sure.
For where he should be.
Yeah, he's that guy.
Yeah. All right. The last guy, you had him at 16, I had him at 15, and I had a tier cut off here, so that's kind of where the tiebreaker landed in. But the last guy, and you're not going to give much pushback here, T. Higgins at 15.
You know, oddly, I would feel stronger about putting my guy in this list if the Bengals weren't so bad defensively. But the fact that they're so bad defensively, dude, they're going to have to score 35. So why not put T in there? He's going to score touchdowns. You know,
I understand the injuries are a concern. But they've always been a concern with T. Higgins. Do you know how many points per game he averaged last season when he was healthy? Jamar Chase didn't miss a game and was the wide receiver 1 by a landslide. By the way, keep that in mind.
17.
18.5 points per game.
Wow, 18.5. Wow.
Do you want almost 20 points a week in your lineup?
Almost 20 points 3 times a month. Let's say that. Not a week, 3 times a month.
That's fair. He's going to miss 6 games.
Yeah, he's going to. But yes, I do. I do want that, Ben. To answer your question, I do. And T's going to score touchdowns.
I do want that.
he's going to get – dude, there could be games – Jamar Chase can get 14 targets and T will get 11. Like, it's not like T's cut out of the game plan. So I'm fine with having him here. Yeah, he's like, they're going to have to
I know
score.
what his situation is going to look like. In a 3-year window, again, I know exactly what is going to happen with T. Higgins. I know what it looks like, and I want it.
And there's a reason they chose – I think it was a mistake to pay him instead of Hendrickson. I really do. I think they should have maybe done a sign and trade with him or tried to work something out like that and try to sign Hendrickson. There's a reason they didn't, and that reason is Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow wants both these guys. He can definitely sustain both these guys. T. Higgins is one of those guys. I feel like he's like the better version of Chris Godwin, where he's kind of always a buy.
Yeah, I can see that.
He's like the better Chris Godwin.
There are price points that are too high, but there really isn't like a too, or like whatever you get T. Higgins for, it's probably worth it.
Yeah.
Because the T. Higgins owner typically isn't going to charge you an outrageous amount. They're like, oh, it's just T. Higgins. Like, I can afford to lose him. Like, no, I want T. Higgins on my team. I really do.
Yeah.
And we know I've been a T. Higgins proponent for years on this podcast.
And I can imagine we're higher than consensus on him. Just looking at our list, I mean, we have neither of the first-round receivers on here. We have none of them. None of the three on here. I'm sure at least Tet and Travis Hunter are going this high in a lot of people's rankings. We don't have them there. There's several other guys
I think Travis Hunter is like wide receiver 13 on keep trade cut, I think.
Yeah. So, and there's several other guys that I think are close to this range, but I almost would set a tier break after Wilson. But I understand. I mean, he's that guy. All these guys are. If you have any of these guys as your wide receiver 1, you're not that mad. I mean, I know he's wide receiver 15 for us, but if he's your wide receiver 1, in a week he starts, you feel pretty good.
Yeah, you can make that work.
Yeah.
All the leagues, I have T. Higgins in several leagues, obviously. All the leagues I have T. Higgins, he is like my wide receiver 3 or 2, which is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
An awesome feeling.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All of these guys, to recap, we got Tier 1, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. Tier 2, CeeDee Lamb, Malik Neighbors, Amon-Ra Puka. Tier 3, BTJ, Drake London, Nico Collins. And Tier 4, A.J. Brown, Ladd McConkey, Marvin Harrison, JSN, Garrett Wilson, and T. Higgins. I agree with you. I don't feel bad with any of these guys as my 1. I love having any of the Tier 4 guys. If you got one of the Tier 3 and up guys and one of the Tier 4 guys on your team, you're set up extremely well for for the foreseeable future at receiver. But I also kind of agree with what you said earlier is I like getting into that Tier 1, 2, and 3 of guys just because they are the game changers, the true game breakers.
They're complete anchors for your whole roster. Like, those are guys you can build your roster around. Absolutely, without a doubt.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's our top 15, top 4 tiers. We'll be getting into the next one next week. I know some people are probably disappointed that Travis Hunter was not brought up, that Ted McMillan was not brought up. Trust me, we're going to talk about them early in the next video.
They'll be very early.
But we'll explain, logic and reasons why we didn't have them among these guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's it. Any last closing thoughts here, Landon?
Nope. That's it. I mean, these are. I thought these laid out pretty well. I thought the top 14 laid out pretty cleanly in tiers. And again, you look back at this week 6, week 8, and there's probably going to be a lot of shifting just because, I mean, hopefully it's not because of injuries, but just because people outperforming where we have them right now. That's the story of Dynasty football, Ben. You find the guys who you think are going to break out, and if you hit on them, that's how you turn your team into a real contender. So it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds, but I thought this was pretty clean. These top 14, 15 guys.
Yeah, I'm excited. We'll probably get some kind of text from Josh. Oh, why did you have T. Higgins that high? Oh, why was Rashee Rice not wide receiver 11? Things like that. Well, Josh, if you want to make those arguments, you should show up to the show.
That's true.
How about that?
You know what? Because he's such a big A.J. Brown fan, we should have not had him in our top 15.
We should have left him out.
Yeah,
we should have pulled a page from the community's book, have him at like wide receiver 18.
Yeah.
No. That's what we should have done.
By A.J. Brown. That's
Last second change. A.J. Brown's out. Yep. All right. That's all we got for you today. We'll see you in the next one when we go top 30 receivers, 15 through 30. And if you like the show, leave us a like, leave us a comment, leave us a review. Let us know where we're wrong, or I should say where you think we're wrong, and then we'll tell you why you're wrong. And, yeah, we'll see y'all in the next one.